I think we're good now.
Okay, guys, part 2. We had to free up some space on our iPad so we could keep on recording. I'm gonna jump back in. You didn't miss anything. I was just sitting here trying to fix the iPad with Ainsley. So I have here this little kind of flecking area. You almost can think of it as like an ember when you're at a fire pit and you see the embers coming up from the fire. It's almost like you're placing those embers. Think of those type of shapes, just like the really organic kind of crumbled up crusty shapes just placed right on these black areas. And what that is going to do is it's going to marry this big chunk of orange into the black. We don't want it to look like a cow spot anymore, so we're going to think of like a galaxy, or think of like kind of, you know, like nebulas when they have those flecking and little splotchy parts. It just blends everything together with still getting to see all of those separate colors. So I'm gonna do that in just a couple little areas on the pot. So get just a little bit, tiny bit on your brush of white gold and antique copper. I'm gonna try and kind of make like this type of shape, like finger dabs. This is the funniest thing, like trying to explain your weird little paint techniques to people, because you have them all like planned in your head, and then it's like so weird explaining them, but it makes sense when it comes out. So see those awesome little splotches that we made? And then you can see how this is a good moment to show what Ainsley's paintbrush looks like. Ainsley's paintbrush is really flat right now, so I'm gonna encourage her to pinch it together and make like this finger shape. See that, how it creates almost like a stamp? There you go.
Yeah, that makes it way better too.
Yeah. So crunch your paintbrush together and make like fingers like that, stamping little shapes, and you can even layer. I like to go over the layer I just did and stipple again to make some of the area brighter. Get a nice close-up of that. I'm gonna do some more of that here, little stippling. Okay, see that? Perfect. And you want to blend out so it almost gets lighter, like smaller spots. Almost like freckles. If you've ever done fake freckles or can imagine what freckles look like, kind of like a similar effect. So I will do that again over here. Those flecks. This is really when the magic starts to happen. We are nearing the end, so I am gonna do those.
Oh my gosh, I saw this in the other room.
Isn't this the magic? The fleckies?
How is that? Like that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's good. So this is what Ainsley's looks like right now. I'm gonna encourage Ainsley to get her brush even more dry, so dry it off on the paper towel maybe. She's gonna,
oh yeah, she had some stuff on there.
Yeah, so since hers was wet, she didn't get as much spacing on her brush as I want. So, yes, perfect. Let's show what that looks like. She just dried off her brush, so now it's almost like a triple little brush end like that.
It's a fork.
Almost looks like, yeah, like a fork. Now she's gonna dab that straight into her paints right there. Perfect. Now you'll be able to start getting those really tiny flecks. See how I've got mine tiny? But this is a great base. Definitely be happy with what you have there. Just get some more tiny and get them all close together too.
Clustered, like
some
a little
clusters,
clustered flake.
Some clustered flakes, some spread out flakes.
So Mackie, I was thinking as I was watching this online,
Yeah.
some of your more highly glossy areas, that's why we added the matte glaze,
Oh yeah, okay.
so that you could knock down a little gloss in some of the
Sure.
areas and leave it glossy in other areas. That's another
Yeah.
really cool feature.
So see how I have it all clustered? I'm almost getting like a big blended area.
Would you say a
and
little
then
island of it?
island? Yeah, that's a good way to put it. do some more down here. And then you can even like use the side of your brush to just get tinies. See that, Ains, how I'm using just the tip
Yeah.
too to get the dots and blend it out. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So my very last technique I'm going to show is just getting this flare. See here on the picture how we've got almost like an up and down stroke type of flare. I'm gonna kind of edge anywhere like this that doesn't have our fleck with that. So, but this is already starting to take shape, which I'm sure you guys can tell that it's starting to look a lot more like Raku now. So, let's get this flare working. I'm going to get my fire opal back over here. Just gonna get a little bit of that on my brush. It's almost like a dry brush technique. And we're gonna kind of fleck and do these up and down, only up and down strokes. So we're gonna use pink. I'm also gonna introduce back some of the hematite. Almost got nervous that paint got on my pants, and then I remembered that's the whole point, is that they get all painted. Okay, let's do also, since this is an amazing blender, iridescent violet. So our 4 we're working with right now are fire opal, hematite, onyx, and iridescent violet. This is gonna be making our up and down striations. So get hematite and onyx on there mainly, and then a little bit of the fire opal, and then a little bit of the iridescent violet. And here I'm going to pull that up and down. So kind of get your thickness out and on your pot, and then we'll start to kind of flick it up and down once our brush gets drier. So get the thick areas out like that.
Mackie, would you suggest that, so there are so many really beautiful images of terracotta pots on
Raku?
Pinterest. I'm a terracotta Raku pots on Pinterest. Would you suggest that they just pull up a Pinterest pot and start, that'll give them a kind of like a pattern that they can follow?
Yeah.
Just choose the one they want and just follow
Is
it.
Raku a terracotta base?
I didn't mean
Oh,
that.
I just didn't know. I mean, like, I
Well,
don't
it's
even
raw
actually know.
clay. I meant
Yeah.
to say clay pot, right?
Oh, okay.
Raku clay pot. So I know you're using it on terracotta, which is awesome and super cheap and already done. But how,
Okay, I do need to
Yes,
explain
go
what
ahead.
I'm doing here. Since Mom's easily distracted, she's
I was
having fun
watching
watching
Ainsley, I know.
I'm going to take that as an opportunity to
I love
save
that.
my
That's
technique.
so cool.
So see how I've got those thick spots? I'm actually going to take the side of my brush and tap it so it almost is using, see how the brush is like a bunch of lines because of it being a brush, obviously. Use it, you can almost use it like a stamp. So the goal is to get that real up and down striation, like here, like it's going straight north and south with
So
those
just
little,
like oxygen flares.
yeah.
So Ainsley, you have never done this before. What are you thinking of this? Like, what's your experience?
It's been good so far because I don't feel like it's like organic enough, or I don't feel like I'm gonna mess it up. So
Good.
Yeah.
it's been good.
And Ainsley wears her emotions really close to the vest, so that was gushy for her.
For Ainsley, also Ainsley is a slower project worker, so I've been going extremely
I'm
fast.
shocked how fast you're going on this one, Ainsley.
You
because
guys
you're
can-
normally really.
Yeah,
And you
I
guys can
usually
take,
take
as,
my
as
time.
long as you want. So I know I'm rushing Ainsley for sure. This is not her usual working pace. So
But would you now that you know the technique, would you work at the same pace, do you think?
Maybe slightly slower, but not that much slower because the paint dries.
Oh, yeah. That
Yeah.
does speed the process up a lot.
So this is really important. I'm almost at the end. I just need to show, so see these lines, how I'm tapping and stamping that dark into the copper. It's really important to do this step because that's what's gonna really blend any of these harsh, like orange chunky lines into your dark background. So it's just very, very important in making this whole thing just
Look
come
more
together
authentic.
and look seamless and look extremely authentic. So the side stamping of your brush, I would just use our same brushes, just order these. That is really just creating, and you'll see once the whole thing is finished, but just in this area, it's looking like true pottery and raku finish. Like even here, I don't have enough up and down striations, so I have to go in with more tapping and get rid of any chunks. So that's all I'm gonna be doing for the next couple minutes. Mom, if you wanna use this as a time to talk, I'm just gonna be doing that tapping technique sideways with the up and down striations over all of the cow splotches, all of the ugly cow splotches, so.
Well, so some of the ladies were mentioning that this would be really cool. Like you can buy those raw terracotta diffusers that are pendants. And can you just imagine doing this on a small scale as a little, like a pendant that you could use for a garden stick or,
cool.
you know how you have the little garden markers or little suns in your gardens? They have sun faces, they have all those things. And setting it out there in the elements would be totally fine, but you could even do like a super large raw terracotta paver.
For sure.
Do you know you can get those big, huge pavers and you could just make a full Raku paver for your garden?
Ooh,
I want to do that.
amazing.
Like I'm going to be going to Home Depot very shortly after this live because
just a giant thing.
since I had so much FOMO here and all I want to do is paint, I'm going to go there, get that giant paver, and I'm going to paint
And you're,
A
that's really
paver.
good. You're getting
Yeah.
that super nice
a
and
tile
dry.
paver.
For a second, I thought you meant paper, like.
Oh,
like
paper,
if they
no.
made big, like canvases.
Oh,
That would be cool too,
So
right?
see that
Yeah.
swipe I just did? That was too thick. That means that my brush is way too coated in paint. So I'm just gonna wipe that off a tad like that with a paper towel or whatever. I'm just gonna make sure I take my brush, and you can just flick it on your silicone and just get it really dry, like almost what you would think would be too dry. And that's when you get the perfect amount in order to stamp. And you can always add, like I did get it too dry that time, so add your colors back on between hematite, onyx, iridescent violet, and the fire opal. So this, I'm really happy with this. This looks a little chunky right here, so I'm gonna tap right there. This looks chunky, so I'm gonna seamlessly blend that in. I'm even gonna take these darks that I have, and remember what we did with this bright orange flecking here into this main area? I'm even gonna take it and put it in the middle and break that up.
Set up again.
Yep.
See, I'm gonna break this huge chunk up and make it smaller in a sense.
What did you do after the white, gold, and copper with the fire opal? Just go up and down?
Yeah, that part actually wasn't as important. I realized I needed to add in these
The
three,
three
so
together?
you can just move right into that step.
Okay.
Ainsley's gonna get the onyx, hematite, that looks like you got enough of that. Only need a tiny bit of your fire opal and iridescent violet. So teeny bits of that, super dry brush, and tapping with the side of your brush to get those lines as a stamp.
Mackie, as I'm sitting here watching this, I am like freaking out at, I mean, honestly, on camera, I hope it's translating, because I would never know just walking in that you were painting this pot and it was going to be permanent.
Yeah.
Like just right here, no mask, no heat, no fumes, nothing, and just fun, easy decorating. That's the wind. There's a big windstorm coming to Boise. You know what I mean? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Ainsley, that was just gorgeous. And like this is probably the funnest step right here, because you're doing
The
like
end.
all of your final
And
touches. Like
super
look at
flat
this
ends.
flare right
So,
here.
See like how I have here? Oh, you're just getting some
Can
of
you
that
show
blended
that
out.
flare straight on that way? Yeah. Yeah, just that middle flare that you're working on. And then that
Nice.
just looks so beautiful and blended. And this is your first time.
Yeah.
That's
There
crazy.
you
It's
go.
hard for me to. Where's that?
Yeah, and Ainsley's is really, everything is perfect. Ainsley's gonna really take shape once you start using your
Your
flat
final, yeah.
side tap, which I don't think you've got to that point yet, right?
And you guys haven't even done any of
Just
the
a
matte
little?
glaze, which
Just
will
tiny
knock down
bit.
some. Because Raku is very flat.
Yep.
So you can opt out of the knocking it down to a matte, or you can make it matte.
So see how here I've got that harsh line right here? I'll show on the camera too. So it goes almost from black to straight orange. I've got all of those mix of colors dry brushed on here, and see here, I'm gonna just side tap it so it's like a line stamp.
Oh,
Up and
that's what you
down,
meant by
yeah.
flat, not the end.
Yes, completely
Oh, that
flat.
makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, so parallel.
Okay, yeah. Because, you know, I'm just
Parallel,
listening, not looking as much.
Okay.
So I was
Think
like,
of patting your face like this, Ames,
And
instead
see
of
how
karate
it just
chopping
got
it.
rid of that chunky, ugly, straight line, and you'll just be able to like here. You'll want to use that there, and I'll show on the camera too. So this is cool, but not for the technique, because, oops, I just got a little paint right there. We want some of those lines to just go away, and she's gonna tap onto her piece. Oh, here especially, like right there. Start there maybe.
okay.
Mackie, I was saying that this technique is cool if you think about like going like this, like patting your face instead of karate chopping it.
There you go. It's slapping your face with a little
Pat
pat,
your-
pat, pat.
Pat your face off, dry your face, don't karate chop it.
So let's see. I want to work this area a little bit. Looks a little chunky, so I want to pat some of that out.
And of course, if someone wanted to just do a few flares, kind of like the piece that you're showing, they can, that would take like probably a half an hour off of the entire project.
Yeah, I'm just going for the full true
And I'm
effect.
freaking out over the true effect. That's the one I want.
Yeah.
But we did a very, very fast one behind you. That little
Yeah,
side
we
one
can
over
show
there.
that another time too,
Yeah.
and show how quick.
I'm sure this will not be the last time we do Raku, for sure.
Yeah.
I was just imagining all the surfaces you do this technique on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I'm even using this as an opportunity to come in down into some of those cow splotches and just break them down a little bit, almost like getting that glow of the dark Raku back too. So tapping like that may be a little bit chunky as well.
Oh my gosh,
So-
I'm watching Ainsley do that, and whenever she taps in like that, it makes it look more and more and more authentic.
Yep. kind of like the magic moment. And then obviously so will the matte glaze.
Yeah. It's just, every time you do this, it just makes me think of the oxygen when it's, when the magic is actually happening with
Yes.
Raku. You know, it's just like, phew.
Oh my gosh, for sure. And again, with this technique, you can set your pot down and look at it again in a couple hours or in an hour and just be like, hey, actually, I want to add more color and more pink and glowing. And you can totally 100% do that. But I do want to show, because I just peeked over. Look at like that flow of the iridescent violet going into scarab wing with all that dark. It just really is starting to look like the true Raku. Well,
Maggie, Debbie is asking how you learned to do this.
I just look at things and reverse engineer it in my brain, I guess. I don't know. I just have used the paints a lot, so I kind of know what they're gonna do. I didn't actually do this before the live today, so I was a little bit nervous.
You didn't do
I
one
did
that
this
was
one
crazy.
This one was the very like simple version. So this is the only one I've ever done. So I just focused on glowing and blending those, but I really wanted to get the flashing.
You pushed your limit
So
today.
I pushed it because I'm like literally sweating. I wasn't sure if it was gonna work out, but I absolutely love it. So I just kind of did it what I thought would work. I know
Yeah.
that's like not like a technique, but at least I'm teaching you the technique,
No,
right?
I think that's very fair and how cool some matte splotches would be.
Yeah, so here I'll definitely do some matte.
It disconnected, but I just did the recovered broadcast, so it did that for a second.
So with a matte technique, and this is truly our final technique, I promise. Get your same tapping motion kind of with the pottery here. And we're just going to kind of flick back and forth, and what happens as I flick the paintbrush one
Somebody
way,
have their phone
it
on or
dries,
It keeps on trying to disconnect.
and then
I want to make sure
as
everyone
I
has their
swipe
Wi-Fi off
from
still.
side to side, it's actually drying as I pull back and forth. So we'll do a little bit more here. So back and forth, you can do it quick too. And you'll feel almost like a little bit of a pull, like it'll pull and stop a little bit. Stop your paintbrush. Like here, this looks a little shiny. I'm gonna break that down. I do like some of it shiny, but breaking it down is really gonna make it look like more of a true Raku, because Raku is nice and matte finish.
It's freezing a bit, so I'm having your mom check to make sure everybody's.
Off their phones and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Good thing we're almost over. And it was just using all of our same colors, just with that back and forth flicking motion.
He did a master class on it.
That's right.
A speed Raku.
Yeah, so Sawyer's is also really pretty. Just a different effect if you don't want to spend as much time. Mine's kind of like the crazy.
I promise
Advanced
you
version.
that if you had to do this from scratch as an artist, it would be a lot longer than this live.
Let's see how Ainsley's. Oh my gosh. Look at Ainsley's, how hers just transformed when she did her tapping.
Yeah.
So this is Ainsley's. I love that striation right there. It's so fun to look at all the different versions and see how they turn out. But that's pretty dang spot on, Ains.
Well, what was really cool about
Looks really good.
Ainsley's was that she had such a dramatic
Love that
base
right
that
there.
she was able to come back in
Gorge.
boldly with her hematite and onyx. Like that's. I really want you guys to see these in person.
We'll have to take some
It's
glamour
incredible.
photos.
What are you doing now? Like
So
the...
this is just the matte glaze.
Okay.
I'm getting, I'm just mattifying kind of the areas, and what I do is flick back and forth, because as you pull back and forth, it dries each swipe.
And how I always describe something matte is when you feel tension, you can stop in that area, but it's not a paint on. You want to paint and
pull, yeah.
pull and get tension. Dry
it almost feels like you'll be pulling off some paint, but it really,
You won't.
yeah, you won't.
Yeah, do that. And Ainsley, can you start feeling the tension where it's like,
Yeah, it starts to get sticky.
Yeah,
almost.
sticky.
yeah, you like pull
Sticky.
it, it'll start getting like super, super matte.
Yeah.
Which really makes your piece authentic. It's funny when you guys were doing this, I was thinking about the art of making costumes and what is the difference between a B movie and Lord of the Rings, right? And it's all in the fine details.
For sure.
I'm sure they all started off pretty similar. Final thing, like you just adding matte to it makes it look super authentic.
It does.
And then you're like, oh my gosh, how do you even tell the difference here?
It's like seizing the layer. If you're familiar with cooking or any chef, I worked at an inn for a while at a bed and breakfast, but it was super high end, and so I had to be a really good cook. And I was only like 19, but mom and dad did raise me to cook really well. But when I got there, they really taught me some crazy cool techniques with cooking, and one of them is seizing the layer, and it's basically like every layer of like a soup or a dish, you just make each layer taste how you would if you had to stop. So
Push your pots forward, both of them at the same time. I've been dying for that view, like that. Oh my gosh. That is just a really cute, cool view right there.
So it's the same with paint. You just seize as if you had to stop almost right there. Them all together, it's really just magic, obviously, as you can see. So I think I'm about done with mine. And feeling pretty dang confident about how that turned out. Just being a plain terracotta pot from the home improvement store, and using our insanely magical paints, our enamel paints, ultimate paint, to create this amazing finish. And you can even tell all of that kind of rough chalkiness of the terracotta is completely gone, and it really actually feels like you have this glaze, thick enamel glaze finish on your pot, and it is completely transformed into something new and beautiful. So Ainsley's just finishing up matting hers. Does mom want to say anything else before we end?
I'm not sure, maybe you go to full screen, so you guys can show the other view
Sure.
a little closer.
We're kind of far away now since we had to restart the broadcast. Maybe you can zoom us in a little bit. Stuff with the broadcast as she's been rushing through this project, so I'm sure I pushed her boundaries a little bit, but your piece
No,
still
it's
turned out
fine.
amazing. So
How does that look in your
Good.
view? Okay.
so she suffered through, but I think she is happy. I'm happy, super
Just like getting
happy.
the air traffic control.
So yeah, that's gonna be looking really good with some plants in it, like up on the shelf. And I went so deep into the technique that I didn't even do it on the little house guy. But
I love the side by side of your real Raku piece there.
Yeah.
Too.
and should we come closer to camera, or is that a good enough
Yeah.
view? Just so we can get
Are you
there
on
we
the full